What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? What's up, YouTube?
What's up, YouTube? Today we're going to talk about booze. Hey, I'm Rugley. How's it going? Like a really, really long time ago, probably 3 months at this point, I started on this journey to create this recipe that I've been trying to make for a very, very, very long time. And a couple of things happened to me in the last couple of months that really, really made this recipe probably the best recipe that I've ever created. And that recipe was and still is very, very, very good, but I really like this new recipe. So everybody complains. I'm sorry, not everybody. A few people complain when I use Flavor West Yellow Cake. And I understand that there is a whole lot of valid reasoning in there for why people wish that people wouldn't use that flavor. So I had to get out of this mindset. Flavor West Yellow Cake was the end-all, be-all of cakes. And while I still think that Flavor West Yellow Cake is a very, very good cake, I think that Jungle Flavors Yellow Cake is a good cake. Its texture is not as good as Flavor West Yellow Cake. I am telling you that right now. It's not as good, but the cake flavor is still very good. It's still very yellow cake. And we can add things to Jungle Flavors Yellow Cake to give it more texture. So, you know, there's that. No need to ever use Flavor West Yellow Cake again. I unlocked it, and it was all possible because of flavors that I got from chefs that you never used to be able to get in the United States, but you can now, thanks to bullcityflavors.com. So like I said, Jungle Flavors Yellow Cake is missing texture. It has a good cake taste. It just does not have that buttery, crumbly texture that you get from Flavor West Yellow Cake. So like I said, we're going to add something to it. You know, when I started this journey of trying to make a good cake out of Jungle Flavors Yellow Cake, I went into it knowing that I was going to have a problem with texture and that I was going to have to find something that worked really well with it to give it that buttery, crumbly texture that a cake should have. You know, this is a chocolate cake recipe. So I started with Liquid Barn Lava Cake, which was a flavor that I had not played with up until the point when I got it a couple months ago to use it on this recipe. And I've decided since that I don't like that flavor very much. Other things that I added to it, Capella sugar cookies, a little bit too buttery, not quite as crumbly as I wanted, but it's still pretty good, but it's not anywhere as good as this flavor, and it is Flavor Art Vanilla Cookie. So this was one of those flavors that I got from chefs, and I never had it before, and everybody's like, so good, so good, it's so good. And, you know, kind of the same vein as one-on-one vanilla custard cheesecake, I really wasn't expecting that much out of it. I was proven wrong, and Flavor Art Vanilla Cookie is exactly something that I want to use to give texture to a cake. So I needed something that was just as good as Capella Sugar Cookie, but a little bit less buttery and a little bit more crumbly. Vanilla Cookie by FA is that, and I think that I need to buy more because it might be my new favorite cookie. Yeah, so these two, Jungle Flavors at 3% and FA Vanilla Cookie at 2%, make a beautiful yellow cake without having to use Flavor West Yellow Cake. So that is the first of the two things that happened to me in the last month that I think makes this recipe the best one that I've ever created. Getting Vanilla Cookie from Chef's Flavors changed the scope of this recipe. It made me want to use Jungle Flavors Yellow Cake. But there's one more thing. There's one more thing that I think makes this the greatest recipe that I've ever created. But first, what is in this that's going to make this that? Well, it's not either one of these two flavors, but when you combine the secret ingredient with these two flavors, you get something that's absolutely remarkable. So the first one is we're going to use 3% of Vape Train Chocolate Mousse. Did I tell you that this is a chocolate mousse cake with bourbon caramel? And it's called Drunk Mousse? I didn't, and I forgot to tell you that. Well, this is a chocolate mousse cake with bourbon caramel. And the first part of that chocolate mousse is Vape Train Chocolate Mousse. I think that that flavor is very, very good. It has kind of like that very stiff dairy note, but it is also very chocolatey. The chocolate's a little bit subtle, but I think that it's a really, really, really good chocolate. It's a really good chocolate mousse. It's very authentic texture, very authentic taste. I like it, but I want a little bit more chocolate. And this flavor right now, it's an oldie, but I still think that it's very, very good when it comes to chocolates. It's TFA Double Chocolate Clear, and we're gonna use it in here at 3%. So Double Chocolate Clear it's not what you would say is an authentic chocolate flavor, and that it doesn't taste like chocolate. It tastes a little bit more like Tootsie Rolls or like Hershey's chocolate syrup. It is an artificial chocolate. So sometimes, you know, when you're making a cake or something like that, it's okay to have an artificial chocolate flavor. What you don't want is something that's very, very astringent. That is not going to agree with the bakery note. So those two flavors, you've got that kind of runnier, syrupier, sweeter chocolate, and you've got that stiff chocolate mousse. Combine that with the cake and you have a really nice chocolate mousse cake. But since this is the greatest recipe that I've ever created, let me tell you about the secret ingredient to this. And the reason why it's important is because of the chocolate. The secret ingredient in here is 2% of TFA RY4 Double. Why? So, let's rewind about 3 weeks. Kitty was talking to me about this recipe that I made for her very, very early on when I first started mixing. Actually, it wasn't when I first started mixing. I had been mixing for quite a while, but it was when I first started using websites like eliquidrecipes.com and like All the Flavors, because this recipe is one of, if not the first recipe that I ever posted on All the Flavors, and it is a clone of a commercial liquid called Yummy Milk Gat. So Yummy Milk Gat, it tastes like nougat. If you don't know what that is, it is milk chocolate and marshmallow whipped together so that you have a milk chocolate marshmallow. But when I did that, it just seemed kind of two-dimensional and boring. It very much tasted like yummy vapor, so instead I remixed it, add a couple of other layers to it. I went with a graham cracker, and then I also added some RY4 Double. Now, initially, when I had put this in here, it was because RY4 Double has this very kind of warm, toasty aftertaste. You know, kind of once you get past the caramelly tobacco notes, it has this very warm, toasty aftertaste, almost like a toasted marshmallow. And so that's why I added RY4 Double to that recipe initially. We both liked that recipe. We both used it for quite a while, and then after a while we moved on to other things and kind of just forgot about it. Like I said, that was relatively early on in my mixing, and you know, every couple of months I go in and check, and I look back at old recipes. I look back at all my recipes and see which ones are trending, which ones have been mixed the most, and I was constantly surprised to see how many times that recipe had got mixed. You know, I was pleased that that I had did something that people like, but for a long time, probably about maybe up to 2 years, that was my most mixed recipe on All the Flavors. And, you know, I never went back and remixed it. Like I said, we moved on to other things and never kind of looked back. But about 3 weeks ago, Kitty said that she wanted me to make it again. So I mixed it up, gave it to her, and she cracked into it. I think a couple days ago. She kept telling me that she liked it and she liked it. And I was like, all right, I got to try this. You know, everybody on the internet's mixing it up. It keeps getting mixed up. She says that it's good. What is so special about this? So I tried it. And it was the RY4 Double. It wasn't just the RY4 Double, but the entire recipe was very, very good. But that's what made it very, very good. That's what made that chocolate good. Something about adding 2% of RY4 Double to double chocolate clear gives you this amazing kind of melty chocolate. It's wonderful. You know, I think it's that warmth, that little bit of caramel that's in there, but it blends perfectly into the notes that are in double chocolate clear. And so I took that and I reapplied that to this recipe to unlock that chocolate note, which was the other thing that was holding me back, which is the other reason why I think that this is the greatest recipe that I've ever created. So we made that chocolate gooey, sticky with RY4 Double. But there's one more thing in here. It is a chocolate mousse cake with bourbon caramel. And it's going to showcase another one of my brand new favorite flavors. And I absolutely love this flavor. It's sticky, it's gooey. It's TFA Caramel OG, and it's in here at 2%. I can't put this stuff down. Every time I want a sticky, gooey caramel note, a candied caramel note, I reach for that flavor. And I love caramel, and I love TFA Caramel OG. It is absolutely delicious, has wonderful texture, has wonderful flavor. It tastes like caramel, man. It's really, really good. But this is a bourbon caramel, so we gotta put some bourbon in there. Let me tell you about my favorite bourbon. It's FA Vanilla Bourbon. Or is it bourbon vanilla? I don't know, because sometimes they can't make their mind up. It seems to go one way or the the other, and I've checked. It's not a different flavor. Sometimes it's vanilla bourbon, sometimes it's bourbon vanilla, but to me, it tastes like vanilla flavored bourbon. It has a really subtle bourbon taste with a really, really dark, very bassy vanilla note. I absolutely love that flavor, but it's not boozy enough, and we want our caramel, our mousse, to be drunk. So we're gonna add 1% of TFA Kentucky Bourbon, and that's gonna kind of seal the deal on this, right? We have the cake, we have the mousse, and we have the drunken caramel. Right up front, you get hit with that bourbon, and then kind of layered underneath that is the chocolate and the cake, and then that gooey caramel on the finish. It's absolutely wonderful. That just seems absurd to me that so long ago I accidentally made a really good chocolate flavor, and I never even knew it this whole time until I went back and tried it, and I was like,
what kind of voodoo black magic is this?
yeah, anyways, very, very good stuff. I'm very, very proud of this recipe. Little Pinot Grigio to watch it down. Cleanse the palate after each sweet, caramelly, chocolatey vape. Yes, yes, before you ask again, it is coming back on February 1st. There will be a link, you know, in the description of the video when it comes back. It's not back yet, so just hang tight. I'm doing a lot more to try to cultivate a community here. Somewhere where we can talk about the good things, the bad things, and really try to find a nice balance. And in the meantime, I hope you mix up some delicious drunk mousse and give it a try. Listen, listen, listen. If I can do this, you can do this too. You can buy flavors, you can make delicious drunken mousse liquid, and you can never have to worry about not being able to go down the street to get the things that you need to stay off of cigarettes. Listen, guys, if you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe to the channel. Make sure you turn notifications on so that I get to annoy you every time I upload a video. Like, comment, and I will definitely see you guys in the next one.